Lewis, does your den mother know about this? If I were to ignore this infraction, I would certainly be remiss. You get my drift? This born to be wild thing is making me nervous. I think you're doing your ancestors a disservice. Lewis, do your classmates know about this? You're about 6 feet 5 inches from the abyss.
Hi there, folks, across town, across the globe. Once again, it's time for a witch hunt. I'm Paul Colby, and I always bring some investigators with me, the people who do the hard work that makes this program possible. What we do is we tell you the stories behind the stories behind the stories, and then next time you're at the water cooler, you'll be the person who knows what's going on. So, without any further ado, here on the 26th of January, you're going to experience the first episode of the Investigators Review for 2026. And what about those investigators that I am mentioning? Well, the first one is Mark O. Rube. Mark is a director of a study group. Oh, no, that's not Mark. I know, yeah, that is. He is the director of a study group on the aspirations, I guess is what they call them, of small mammals. Now, when he isn't doing that, which is a lot of work, he is a proponent for national parking lot restoration. Now, if you're like me and you have to park a lot, you know that a lot of the parking lots in this big country of ours need some restoration. I don't know if that means, green plants everywhere or signs in 2 or 3 different, well, anyway, he knows about it. That's why he's a proponent. And he is also the premier wife coach for would-be authoritarians. Now, as a matter of fact, he has written the handbook for authoritarians. Now, is there something you want to say about authoritarians before I ask you the deep, probing questions for which I am properly famous?
No, I'm just glad to be here today. I'm thrilled to be able to add perspective on the various issues of, environmental and assortative mating concerns of creatures large and small.
I see. And some of those creatures would-be authoritarians.
Yes.
Which is, a lot of people are confused about this. When they hear the word Presbyterian, they think that they're talking about authoritarians. They're not the same.
Oh, no, they're not the same at all. You see, when you enter a motel and you find that fine tome, the one left by the Gideons.
Yes,
It's a particular hobby of mine that I like to take a shoppy. I mean, I must say, I think it's with some authority that I do a little transformation. It's not the Gideons, it's the do my bidding puns. It's a little adjustment that I make, so that perhaps...
So future readers will see your work.
Yes. So in this authoritarian theme we're speaking of, the do my bidding puns in the Tome of the Gideons, I supply things like perspective and, prices goeth before the fall. Or chain of commandments.
Yes.
Terms and conditions apply force.
One more question, though. You don't really cover it so much in your authoritarian handbook, and that is, when the authoritarians are picking a would-be wife, is this for display purposes or to get them more healthy, or you know, what goes into picking an authoritarian wife?
Well, first the authoritarian has to engage with his prey. He has to go to the particular habitat of young women. Usually the watering hole is where he begins. He's looking for holes, and usually where he finds them, there are multiple streams nearby. Very often he may be streaming, he may be showing off. Yes, like certain Andrew Tates and other people of, you know, years ago, they're looking for the holes where they can find anything to plug into. And they will ply them with their own magic potions. And so the would-be authoritarian would be attempting to, in that Cro-Magnon sense, intercept and drag home the young lady of his choice.
It sounds like a lot of work.
I think it is. I think because, you know, eventually there's a lot of work for their attorneys.
Oh, highly paid attorneys, I guess.
Oh, of course.
You meant to say, yeah. Now, some of these would-be authoritarians and some of their attorneys, I understand, are, we would call them oligarchs, I think.
Yes.
And some of these oligarchs have secret meetings where they talk about stuff. Now, I'd like to know how you managed to get into one of these secret meetings, but I also want to know what they talk about, these oligarchs.
Well, I'm glad you've asked. There are various ways that you can demonstrate that you are part of the tribe. I would say that where I think you're going with this is the rituals of late, there are rituals of performative shame. I think it involves, normally it's a 12 steps program where they're trying to check boxes. You know, there's a bucket list involving the steppes of Eurasia and Kazakh and Mongolia and Patagonia and in Tibet. So the first one to reach the 12 steps around the world is usually the winner. However, now I think we've gotten to the, well, now, to be honest, we're at a two-step pogrom, which is basically propaganda and state terror.
Well, I don't want to tell stories about another one of our investigators, but I think some of us at this table have already felt a lot of shame without even going through the motions.
That's terrible. Is your masturbation a problem?
I am not aware of any such issue, but, you know.
That's okay. There are a lot of tables in this room. I may have been talking about...
Poor chap only has one hand.
Yeah. Yeah, and that brings up something else. A lot of these people with one hand, one good hand,
How do you know which one? Well, sorry.
Okay, they're into money laundering. A lot of these people who are professional or would-be authoritarians, but I understand that now amateurs are kind of coming into this market. They're doing their own money laundering, right?
Yes, you know, there's an interesting connection between, well, shall we say, big personalities. You know, these pathologies of people with this, they project some kind of attitude. There's a whole market, there's a pyramid of, it's a market pyramid made of testicular depilatory ointments. You know, maybe 40% of our stock market is out competing AI. And, well, I would say that it's referred to as hogwash. All right, that is, it's as opposed to someone like, you know, Mr. Trump, who would otherwise use something like Agent Orange on the presidential Bush.
Well, that is, I was going to say fascinating. It is provocative to know. I mean, I'd like to buy some, but the grocery stores in my area, they're always out of it. They say, you know, we expect some more Tuesday.
Tuesday. Tuesday, the old rube.
Yeah, Tuesday never gets you. But one final thought while I have you on the table or at the table. At the table.
Yes,
Let's not have them on the table.
That's
boss.
one of those 12 positions that he didn't cover that. But a lot of these people who are either would-be authoritarians or oligarchs or whatever we're talking about, they sort of retire, but they still make money. And you were saying in your authoritarian handbook that they make a lot of money weighing options. It's not just that somebody needs to weigh the options, but they get paid for it, right?
Oh, indeed they do. I can't wait until I get my payout.
That's good.
Yes.
I've always wanted to go into that field, although I don't know if it's a field per se. Whatever it is, I'm thinking about it. Now, let me go to my next investigator, because we've kind of meandered a little there. Ann Tiefer is my next investigator for tonight, and you may know she is the founder of the Free Utah movement. I've always known that. I'm not sure why we need to free Utah, but anyway, she is also, this is what is very distinctive. She is the first American to pay for a garage door opener repair with food stamps. And I understand those are pretty hard to get anymore. In fact, they changed the name of the food stamps, so I don't know if they would be considered currency. Anyway, Ann also she has a background as a costume manager, and this time around, I mean in 2026, she is the costume manager for several of the contestants, they're armed contestants at the Winter Olympics. And so we'll get more about that. For example, now, that's Ann? Ann, are you there? Ann? Ann, I wanted to ask you about the new events at the Winter Olympics this year. I understand we have a couple of new events, one of them being the out over your skis kind of an event, and then something about a costume to see who can be more, well, maybe it's a contest, I don't know if it's a costume, who can be more obsequious. Ann, are you with me? Gosh, I think, oh, she just sent me a text here. It says there will be at least 2 new events at the Winter Olympics, and the 2 events I mentioned. At this time, we don't know exactly how the obsequious event is going to work. There will also be new snack foods. The tater tots are being replaced by professional agitators. I've had some of those.
They're quite delicious, actually, boss.
Yeah. See if you can get
I will endeavor to
Ann on the line and see why she's not here.
Well, she doesn't really like me much, so I don't know if she'll respond, but
I just don't know what's going on here. The next thing I was going to ask her about is a lecture series she's doing now, which is the Hannibal lectures. Because I know a lot of people they're just wondering what that might be about, and especially what language the lectures are going to be in. Now she sent me something else, psychically this time. Let's see if I can translate it. I have not instructed, the unit. What is okay, all right, I see. The technical aspect of the lectures is that they are delivered in the mother tongue, and she's not at liberty to say how she acquired that tongue and other body parts, but the price was right. Whatever it is. Actually, I don't understand. Maybe it's part and parcel of the Hannibal lecture to disappear. I know that the code is 011748. That seems to be the code for the Hannibal lecture, but I don't know any more than that. Now, I know also, though, that Anne, wherever she is, knows a lot of famous people. For example, Pete Hegseth, I think, is one of the people she knows.
What was that number again?
That number was 011748. The Hannibal lecture. I studied it in college.
It's a well-known code, Bosch. You're right.
Yeah. I studied it in college when I was taking it was kind of a carpet design sort of a course,
yeah.
And I actually majored in it. So I don't know, but the famous people. She says to me, she says psychically to me that I am misinformed about Pete Hegseth because she does a seminar on weekends when she's not otherwise busy that is called Repeat Hegself. Hug self. I see. This is teaching people who are ashamed, and we have already sort of touched on that. People who are ashamed for one reason or another need to hug themselves repeatedly. So that's the confusion, and if we can figure out where Anne is or who took
maybe she took Hannibal literally and is going over the Alps with elephants. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, what do elephants eat?
Pretty much whatever they want.
Whatever they want. Okay. The person I'm talking to here is my third investigator. That's Mr.
Doug.
He's called Doug Boat, but I'm sure he has a more formal name.
Yeah, but I'll never say what it is, boss.
Okay, I've always known him as Doug Boat. He is the former emperor of the island republic of Nina Pinta Santa Maria. Now, why does that sound familiar? He also invented the invisible 5-speed carpet protector. Now, I've got one of those at home, an old model. It's just a...
That was a prototype, boss. I've improved it, but yeah.
And he presently, if that wasn't enough, he is the interim shoe designer for the Phoenix International Airport Customer Service Kiosk. I would have ordinarily said desk, but I guess you actually have a kiosk, huh?
Yeah, it's well, I have both a kiosk and I have some vending machines.
Okay.
They help supplement my income.
Now, you are the author of a book on pandering, and it's pretty popular with people who are learning to pander. But I know that you have a new line of books called explosive books. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to be doing that?
Well, it's an interesting story, boss. Back when I was a kid, we got kind of bored with just pouring gasoline on ants and lighting them on fire. So we actually started creating explosions, and that led to my a short term in let's call it a detention center. And so I moved to books because I find out if you actually explode books, you don't have all that messy legal stuff to deal with.
Well, I thought it had something to do with the fact that the books you went to look at from the New York Times bestseller list that were said to be explosive books did not really explode at all.
Yeah, they were very disappointing, boss.
Yeah, you made
so I had to force them to explode. I mean, that's
okay. Now, one of the first ones. So, speaking of explosions, I'm talking about a big explosion, the Big Bang.
Right.
And one of your first books, it was by Nita Cornflex. It was a book about the huge bang for dummies.
Yeah, I thought it was. The Big Bang. I remember it well, and it was a definitely Big Bang, but a Big Bang minimizes the actual size, so I renamed it the Huge Bang, and it's now probably known more as the Huge Bang. But
okay, now this author Nita Cornflex. It turns out some people say she is really thermonuclear. Thermonuclear has a hit record that I think the president, for one, he really likes her record. But she used to be a hairdresser as well, right?
yeah, it was interesting. She got kind of bored just doing hair, so she'd actually do quantum theory physics in her spare time between doing permanence and color jobs. So she's a pretty interesting character, I must say.
Okay, now you didn't stop with just a new book venture. You're also doing other products. For example, I understand some people are getting curried favor for Christmas.
Yeah, that's one of my many ventures, boss. But I don't want to use the show to pitch all of my things. But I think there's another slide. Okay, so you did.
For example, another of your ventures, in addition to curried favor, is personnel lubricants.
Yes, that's for people that, if I might say so, people that get behind in their work. I thought that was pretty clever.
I don't follow, but
well, personnel lubricants, excuse me, are excellent in the workplace for people that like to get a little behind in their work.
Okay, because there's a lot of friction in that environment sometimes. Okay, well, that's enough introduction for my investigators. I'd like to go to, first of all, I'd like to talk about the Trump-Venezuela show, because that's one of the most recent. And it started off because the president has long since said that he wanted to get Mr. Maduro. In fact, when you look at the latest materials from the Federal Reserve Board, they are talking about prices for Madurable goods, which are skyrocketing at the moment. And I guess that's one of the reasons why he went to Venezuela. But apparently, and this is like some big secret, he found out that there was oil, and he wanted the oil. First kind of hurdle, I guess, roadblock, whatever you want to call it, when they started to board the tankers, it turned out that some of these oil tankers were actually carrying fish oil, and they were carrying it to some of the popular saunas in the Midwest U.S., where the, it's very popular.
As an aside, boss, I did find that's how I got my personnel lubricant business started, because fish oil is an excellent, excellent lubricant.
Well, and another thing they found when they kept boarding tankers was that a lot of them contained olive oil. And I don't know. I think that Antifa was telling me something about oil and the Trump administration. Did anybody find Antifa?
Yes,
Oh.
that is correct, boss. It should be noted that Trump likes a well-oiled machine. The type of oil is optional.
Oh, well, that explains why he wasn't particularly disappointed. In other words, when the oil men said it was unrefined, then I guess Trump said, that's for me because I don't like things that are refined. Isn't that funny? Now he says, though, now that he's in Venezuela, he's got to run the country. So a lot of his advisors were trying to figure out where Venezuela is. They didn't really know. And the president wanted to appoint a viceroy to run things. I think they call it a viceroy. Or was it a Roy Rogers? Or?
I think anything would be an improvement over the vice boy that he has. What with his predilection for home decor and lying about the living room.
Okay. I mean, I think I agree with you there. There are, though, some new corporations that are they're scrambling to cover the takeovers that are in the future for the Trump administration. Because, for example, I think that there's a bidding war going on for the ones in, he wants to go into several countries and take them over. So when he does this, it looks to me like he's just emboldening some people like Putin, for example. Putin is saying that actually Detroit, specifically where the auto industry is, that's actually a part of the Soviet Union, so he can just take that over. And China, I think, is saying that all of those restaurants in Taiwan, they're really, they're just Chinese food. So as the president starts taking over more of these countries that have their own way of life and their own sovereignty, etc., then a lot of the networks are starting to cover these things live as they're happening. For example, Netflix is covering the Greenland takeover, all right? And Paramount, who they've been in a bidding war for, they want to cover things in case it gets messy in Cuba or Mexico, which are already threatened. So I guess we have Amanda or Antifa or some sort of representation of her available. Do you know anything about that situation of the takeover?
Yes. Information available to me suggests that the administration has plans to take over distant star systems where some of the members were born.
distant star systems. Ooh. Well, I guess they're not going to stop with Venezuela and Cuba and Greenland and...
Well, I see this perspective of your chatbot there. I think the xenobiology evident in the litter, it's true, would suggest that our president's own lead advisor, Stephen Miller, is himself a product of some alien bursting out of some other universe.
Yeah, I've heard the same story, and I have more to say about that. But like we're saying, the truth, the bid for the truth, that is to say, is a big thing on live TV right now. And one thing that we know is that in the case, that's what I'm saying, the bid for the truth. That's a pretty good name for a TV documentary. But Trump actually believes, to back up a little bit here, he actually believes Greenland is for sale. And the reason he thinks so, he's got this brochure, and I've seen it myself. It's a brochure from Not Realty. Let's go forward a little bit there. I'm sure we have that brochure. Yes. And according to Not Realty, there are several promising areas for sale, including one of the Trump hotels, and including Greenland. You wouldn't believe the price here, even though it's listed in the brochure for big bucks. The people who know Not Real Estate, they say it could be had for a song. Well, one thing you can't have for a song, a big Trump hotel. So there's one going up in Caracas right now. And what I understand is that they have a desk there, don't ask me Wi-Fi. That sounds pretty modern, but a person imitating Antifa, because I don't think you really are Antifa, but what do you know about this hotel?
According to my information, the hotel is being built on the site of an early spaceport. Many thousands of years ago, unknown aliens brought dispensers and to this.
Is that soup dispensers?
That is correct.
That's pretty modern. Sometimes when I'm using my 2-speed, carpet protector, I'll put some soup in the dispenser, and sometimes I use it on the carpet. That's what I'm trying to say. But let's talk about some other Trump spectacles that are going on here. For one thing, he keeps saying he wants to change the form of government. In fact, it's being covered as a news story. I'm not sure what form he wants to make it, like rectangular or the missionary position. That's one of the 12 steps you were talking about for authoritarian wives.
Yes, for authoritarian wives, there are many postures that one can take. The positions one might have on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or on a Pugsley, for that matter.
You know what? All of that would be legal in a 51st state if it were MAGA as a 51st state. And I think maybe that's where we're going. Because the intelligence agencies these days, under the current administration, they are starting to adopt fake news of all sorts. I have in mind the Central Intelligence Agency. You can see graphic examples of the CIA adopting unofficial intelligence. In fact, Antifa, if she's really out there somewhere, Antifa is responsible for a book on the magic of unofficial intelligence. Am I right about that?
Of course. I wrote the book on unofficial intelligence because some of my students with low self-esteem were unclear whether MAGA was a state or a category.
Low self-esteem. Is that why you invented the 5-speed invisible carpet protector?
That's right. You can't have enough steam in our life. So
Low self-esteem would be a problem,
Yeah.
especially for authoritarian would-be wives.
I think it is a transitional state, as a matter of fact, between consummation and divorce.
Okay,
In
well,
my seminar, pardon? In my seminar, I teach people with low self-esteem to embrace themselves whenever they underperform. The seminar is called Repeat Hug Self.
repeat. Yeah, well, we were talking about that. Yeah, I think I may need to take that course myself because I have a little shame. But I don't want to get into that story right now. Trump, shamelessly, by the way, Trump is now letting immigrants in who can pay big bucks. Okay, so that goes along with being desperate for a Nobel Prize, which I think that the committee awarding the Nobel Prize said that attacking Portland and Chicago and Los Angeles and Minneapolis sort of disqualifies you for a peace prize, but FIFA wants to have a big tournament here in the U.S., so they said, we got a prize for you. Anybody know anything more about that FIFA Peace Prize?
Well, actually, I myself, I'm a participant in the FIFA Series Crunch, and so this is what I earned for returning box tops, and I'm very proud of it.
What was that contest again?
FIFA Series Crunch.
I see.
Yes, it's something that is many vitamins and minerals, and I feel that I earned this with my breakfast habits.
Well, speaking of vitamins and minerals, President Trump is always bragging about his health and about the CAT scan, and I've been trying to get more information on that because I don't know other people who have been scanned by a cat.
I've been disrespected by a cat. But
I know, but that's electronic, and we're talking about different media here.
I've been turned down by a cat. Yes, I've been stalked by a cat. I've made my own endeavors towards a cat, and I have been shot down, as one might say.
Okay. Other than this Peace Prize and his health, the one thing that the president talks about a lot these days is the ballroom he's building. And I think that it's interesting that scientists that he has hired are already trying to do something about potential gaseous odors. Antifa impersonator, what, do you know something about that?
Yes, scientists now believe tends to have negative effects on people just learning to polka or curry favor.
Well, a lot of people that are trying to curry favor are the same people who are trying to learn polka. You heard it from me first, or second.
Second, I think. Yeah.
Second.
But close enough.
Second, but in order to bolster his image of a really with it guy, the president is expanding the activities at the Kennedy Center. I guess it's now the Trump Card Kennedy Center. But they have a spectacular show coming up. It features, Taylor Swift boat is performing there, and Stephen the cold bear. That's one of the things elephants will eat, right, if they're hungry?
Yeah, they like cold beer as well, but they do like cold beer.
And then you have Al McPartley. For some reason, he sounds famous, but I'm not sure who Al McPartley is. He must have been in one of those big groups like Don't Kiss or something like that.
Wasn't he in Boyz II Men, or no? Was that a different one?
No, Men to Girls.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the final guest at the Kennedy Center this last time around was DJ Vance, and that guy knows how to pack the hits into a small and he's written an explosive book, and I guess it does explode.
Yeah, and it's he's well known for he brings his own sofa with him when he does his DJing. So that's kind of an unusual twist, but that's what he's known for.
Okay.
Yes, I've heard his former act was the Ottoman Invader.
Yeah, that could be.
Invader. You know,
Did that involve Personnel lubricants? Or?
Personnel lubricants are used by a lot of invaders. And while we're talking about invaders, you know the president has been saying for a long time that people emptied out their insane asylums and sent those guys over here. Well, finally, he said what he was talking about. It's Ed's Insane Asylum, which is located there in Caracas. And believe it or not, Kristi Noem said she used to work there. She didn't say what she used to do there, but I guess most of the people there have to be somewhat off their rocker.
I think she was in charge. She was in charge of pet control, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, now you'll remember that when Barack Obama was president, he used to show how cool he was by telling people about what was on his playlist, and he still does that, okay? So President Trump, wanting to be just as cool, announced this year what was on his playlist. First thing, a CD by Rhonda Biscuit called I Must Be Right. I don't know why that would appeal to President Trump, but he does.
That sounds political.
Yeah,
yes, I mean
a little bit. It's a prize winner, I know that. Then he also likes the Izzy Pumper CD, which is about maybe I love you today, but what about tomorrow? Which I think the chorus in there about throwing people under the bus, I can almost hum it. I mean, it's in it's in the key of R, which is unusual unless you have an old Farfisa organ that you can tune to R.
yes, I think it's a drop Q, and then you go R, D, C, F.
Yes, exactly.
Every good boy does queer.
But only musicians would know that. Now here's another one. Another CD that it was on his list is Dancing My Ass Off by the Meat Eaters. Do you know something about that? Imitation Antifa?
Of course, I'm here to help. The title of the Meat Eaters' latest CD is borrowed from the name of a weight loss program designed for people with excess posterior baggage.
Well, I know somebody in office who has excess posterior baggage, but there's also that one that Stevie and the white, they call them White Ravens. I think it was originally called the White Men. Don't Stop Now. Kind of one of those message songs, you know. That's the one that's a hit. And then I think he loves the new record by Electric Bill, because it keeps going higher. Didn't Super Spy Stone already use that? I don't know. It sounds familiar. Pardon me, but the president's weapon, if you want, well, weapon, one of his weapons is giving pardons, you know. So I understand that he pardoned the Pope for trying to be such a good boy, or what's that, you know, for advocating peace, when obviously he was the peace president because, you know, of all of the wars that he stopped in the countries or states that he invaded, or major cities, I guess is what we want to call them. They're all blue, you know.
I think I'm seeing a certain connection here. How, you know how the president has this lien, right? So if he's trying to conspire with the Pope to award something for that lien, perhaps he's looking for a pizza prize. You see where I'm going? The pizza, the lien, yes?
I was leaning that way myself earlier. I thought you might bring that up, having studied would-be authoritarians. One thing I also noticed, there's a lot of gambling going on, you know, even in amateur sports today. And so to sort of weigh in on that, the president pardoned Pete Rose, and then he pardoned Smokey the Bear. I'm not sure why, except that originally he was blaming Smokey the Bear for those fires in the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
Raking the leaves. Wasn't raking.
Raking, yeah, the leaves, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm in line for a pardon. Anybody else?
Oh, I'd like one. I have room in my display.
I think there's an application, and it has to do with that card for immigrants. If you can put down a certain amount of, you know, capital, then you're in line for a pardon. Now, Trump's cabinet is also making waves these days, and basically, for doing some of the wrong things, it's even been suggested that his cabinet should be wearing body cams so that people know what they're up to. I saw a news report about that just recently, that they're going to demand some of the members wear body cams. Let me give you some examples. The head of the FBI, Kash Patel, it turns out his girlfriend was given a ride on an FBI plane to go to a concert. Well, as it turns out, Kash Patel explained that there was a contest the FBI was having, and she just happened to win that first contest for a date.
How remarkable.
Isn't that something?
Coincidences are just amazing, aren't they?
They just pile up. For example, Pam Bondi, I know that she's always busy. One day she pardoned herself, and then she indicted herself, and then she realized what she had done, so she pardoned herself.
Just like a fart.
Isn't that something? And then Stephen Miller, we have touched on this briefly, that he might not be from around here. And as a matter of fact, he's an alien. But from certain star systems, the aliens from certain dark nebulae, they're okay. It's kind of like a nebulizer, you know.
Yes, intergalactic Nosferatu.
Say that again?
Intergalactic Nosferatu.
Yes. I saw that movie. You started it, didn't you?
Of course.
It was pretty explosive. The book. I mean, I got the book for Christmas, and
right. But your both hands are still attached, so apparently it wasn't as explosive as I had hoped.
And then I can't be on this topic without mentioning Carolyn Levitt, because the president's press secretary accidentally told the truth. She said something about the felon-in-chief being part of a weight loss program, and that they were still looking for the weight he lost. Although Substitute Antifa, you know some more about that issue, don't you?
I do, boss. Miss Carolyn subsequently said that she meant to say bag of scum rather than scumbag, because in some extraterrestrial religions, the bag of scum is regarded as a gift from the national god.
The national god, you know, I knew that would come up, and I think I've been a member of that religious cult, even though I'm from around here. I'll have to check my biography to be sure, but I think I am. Now,
wasn't the president going to deploy the National Guard in various proceedings, perhaps of Congress, and the State of the Union?
I was getting to that, but Trump said he had just been speaking to the National Guard, and she said it was okay to visit Chicago. But I think he overplayed what that visit was going to be like, okay? So anyway, so much for the National Guard. We were going to get to it in a minute anyway. On the health of the people in the country, that's a subject that's important to the current administration. And one thing that they've done with Mr. RFK Jr. is to turn the food pyramid upside down, basically. Now, I can't say that I disagree with everything he says. Of course, I want to get rid of certain saturated fats and substitute things, but when he talks about substituting things for butter, like he's talking about cooking with bear sweat instead of butter, and I'm still not used to that idea. You know, I use bear sweat in my invisible carpet protector series number 2, but
And this also makes for an excellent personal lubricant as well.
you and those personnel you work with, there must be a lot of friction.
Yeah, it's a wild bunch, I'll tell you.
The thing about it is, like I said, I don't disagree with everything that RFK Jr. is doing, but when he said that this is a war on fat, I think he was undercutting the president, because one of the wars that the president claims to have stopped is the war on fat. So probably I think that RFK Jr. overplayed his hand.
I think, you know, it's timely because with the departure of Kathleen Kennedy from Disney, controlling Star Wars, I think the war on, I think the reintroduction of bubble fat is going to be part of the lineup for Disney Plus this fall. Make sure you watch The Return of Bubble Fat.
I already subscribed just so that I could see that. I knew it was coming. And the other thing, like, I try to pay attention to my health, so I know that people used to try to get health insurance through things that Obama did, like Obamacare. But the president is now saying that what you need to do is to buy your own health insurance. And to help out the people of this country, they can be expecting in the mail any day now a $50 gift card to help them purchase health insurance. Now that one should go a long way to paying at least 10% of the first month anyway.
Yes, yes, that's at least a tongue depressor or 2 bottles of hemorrhoid cream, I hear.
I haven't heard that yet, but now I have.
Now, yeah.
Now I have.
Well, as always, your investigators are on
Right here
top
at
of
the
things.
table, or on the table, or under the table.
How
sometimes.
else would you expect one to smuggle a koala bear across state borders? Or so I've heard.
It hasn't really come up in any of the meetings I've been in, but you've been in meetings with oligarchs, so maybe that's the kind of thing they talk about. Now, ordinary people, by the way, I'm one of those ordinary people. What we talk about is that we don't think conditions are better under Donald Trump's administration. For example, when I go to the grocery store and see that ground beef is $59 a pound, I kind of get by. You were telling me elk is not $59 a pound. It's only, like...
That's, last time I looked, it was $47.18.
But pretty soon we're going to run out of elk. That's what I think. And then we won't be able to afford these $3,500 rundown apartments that some of us have to live in. And as for gas prices, which are also being discussed a lot lately, it's being said that gas is cheaper, but at the gas stations that I pass, it looks like the gas is cheap, $5 a gallon or something, but it's really the drinks that are going down in price. Buy one, get one free, that sort of thing.
It's all part of our national health
And
program.
besides, my Volvo runs on bear sweat, so that's why I can't cook with it. I use it up to drive around.
It was modified because Volvos are generally running on reindeer sweat, right? So it was modified for U.S. purposes, I assume?
It was modified, but I'm not sure why. I think to make it more acceptable to would-be authoritarian wives, but that's another story. Like you were saying, the discussions with the National Guard were taking place, but the Supremes weighed in on that, and they said that the president cannot send the National Guard to Chicago. I'm not sure why. Because it's awfully cold there.
Yeah.
But it's awfully cold here, and it's wherever it is you live in these United States, I bet it's pretty cold there tonight.
Yes, historically, Jesus was underdressed for the Midwest's winter season.
Exactly. That's why we have so many religions. Now, the Democrats are also responding to the Trump business. Now, one thing they want is a nice ice. I don't know how we get that. But they've also been saying that we have some orders that you need not respect. For example, and they're saying that these are to-go orders. And you had 5 Democrats, they had a campaign there a few weeks ago telling people in uniform that they don't have to pay attention to these to-go orders. Well, we did a little research, and we've got the document right here. It seems like the Secretary of War was sending out invitations to people in uniform to go to, for example, the waters off Venezuela. And I think that's what they were talking about when they said, you don't have to go, all right? And then in New York, the Democrats are promoting socialism security. That's an alternative to the way we do business now. We'll see how that works out. Now, all of the things that we've been talking about here, if you ask me, and I heard some of you out there ask me, what about those pesky Epstein files? Well, it just goes to say that there are a lot of distractions. For example, we have here, as you can see, a picture of somebody redacting. And that's what the Department of Justice keeps saying. They have to redact a lot of these files. Do you know why that is?
I don't know. I've never really understood. I mean, it seems to me if they just dacked them, you wouldn't have to redact them.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
No, I thought it was.
Do you know?
No, but I thought maybe it was a polydact. I thought it was a group of people all interchanging and mating together. No?
No. They are redacting them because there are a lot of victims in these files. For example, a lot of victims had ski accidents, and they have to redact that. A lot of them got parking tickets, so they too are victims. You get my drift?
Of course, boss.
A lot of things make people victims, not just these young women. But a phone call came through the other day, and it's one of my other investigators got this phone call where they had a document saying Trump is not on the plane, meaning the plane going to the island, but the rest of the email, which they redacted, said no, because he's already at the amateur booty contest in Van Nuys. That's why they redacted it. Now, we had Pam Bondi saying the other day there are absolutely no pictures of Donald Trump in a bikini.
Oh, fortunately.
But I don't think we were worried about pictures of Donald Trump in a bikini as such.
I mean, my walls are bare at home, so.
Finally, I want to say there is a document, and you were telling me you know that it has been redacted. Here it is. It looks innocuous enough. It's just saying, visit the island and feel young again. So why do you tell me that it's been modified?
Well, the original wasn't feel young again. It was feel the young again.
Oh.
The girls.
That would make a difference. Yes, I can see that. Enough of this politics stuff. I just want to know what people got for Christmas. For example, one thing I didn't get, but a lot of people did get, is the new Blowing Bubba toy. I don't know what I was going to do with it. I just wanted one because everybody else had a Blowing Bubba.
Well, and they're some of the bubbles can be explosive as well. I don't know if you got that upgraded app version of it or not.
Oh, that's the 2.0 version. Yeah.
It comes with a free saxophone after your fourth box.
Oh, I guess you don't have to know how to play.
No.
You just have to know what the key of R is about.
right.
Yes, it's all in the embouchure, or so I've heard.
Another thing, Santa Claus were very popular this season. A lot of people say they didn't really need one because they already are getting clawed at home. That's one of the positions, right?
No, Claude is the competitor to our friend here, Antifa, like Grok.
Oh, okay. There are some new laws in Texas, by the way. I don't know if that's politics or entertainment or Christmas, but I'm curious about one of these laws that says that aliens who own cattle have to file certain papers about ownership of cattle.
Well, it's called rebranding.
It is?
Yes. Yes, you have to market it one way. You have the lazy 8, you have the lazy POTUS, and then you have the just the cow dung. But now with rebranding, the United States perhaps will one day be readmitted into the world order. We'll have to see.
I see. Another Texas law that I don't understand, maybe y'all can explain it to me. Progressives have to wear leisure suits in public. That's so that people can pick them out, I guess, right?
I suppose so.
Right, and where would you get a leisure suit anymore? I guess at the Goodwill or the Salvation Army, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a new business venture for me. Is I'm going to go into the leisure suit marketing.
Leisure suits.
Yeah, I'll be selling them in my kiosk.
Very good, very good. Another Texas law that makes no sense to me, the high school football players have to be able to recite some of the commandments, and they don't explain which command. I guess as long as you know 2 or 3 of them.
Well, actually, if you're 6'5" and 300 pounds, you just have to know the thou shalt part. You don't have to know anymore.
Okay, all right. Well, that covers a lot of the high school football players in Texas anyway. What's coming up, by the way, before we leave this fine gathering? The Super Bowl is coming up once again, and there are a few things that have been mentioned as possible. For one thing, the president says he might not have anybody deported from the stands. That would be big, right? There's the possibility that he's going to do a duet with Bad Bunny, so it would be Bad Bunny and Bad Money. Pretty good. And then I think he's just going to use halftime to announce his new TV shows, because as we're saying, Paramount and Netflix and everybody just wants to get on board along with CBS, the neutered, and they want to produce the new Trump show on the news, Erase the Nation, and the comic one, Trump Cards, about some of the comedians in his cabinet, and a new version of Survivors, which will be most of the American population trying to get by.
Yes, Melee for Payday. Yes, that's the.
And simulation of Antifa, do you have anything to add to that on your way out? You can call me boss.
Anything else?
Okay. Thank you very much for your contributions tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, for being at the table with me. Fortunately, we had a big enough table, and we have a couple of the invisible guys that you were inventing. They're right over there and right over there. And we didn't even have to provide snack food for them, because on their distant star system, they don't eat anymore. They just gas up.
They've evolved beyond that.
Yeah. So now they just gas up, using a lot of times bear sweat, or they just send their would-be wife out to get something, like hogwash, for example.
It sounds like you're looking for bear sweat recipes. Would you like me to find one for you?
Thank you.
Louis, does your den mother know about this? If I were to ignore this infraction, I would certainly be remiss. You get my drift? This born to be wild thing is making me nervous. I think you're doing your ancestors a disservice. Louis, do your classmates know about this? You're about 6 feet 5 inches from the abyss. This born to be wild thing is technically creepy. On second thought, it's just making me sleepy. Louis, does your parole officer know about this? And did you have an